In today's video, we're going to be ranking all of the Illumination movies.
What?
And this just does not include Hop because, Alright, and Hop, I guess. And this video is solely just my opinion, so if you guys don't agree with it, fight me. Even though my opinion is a fact, you don't have to agree with it. And let's just be honest, when the new Mario movie comes out, it's going to wipe out all of Illumination.
And his name is John C.
Alright, I talked too much. Let's get into the video. And this won't go in order of release date, so I'm just gonna do it randomly. This movie's honestly just kind of mid. And if you're thinking about buying this movie, just don't. All I'm trying to say is this movie tries way too hard to be like a funny dog and cat compilation movie. I actually remember when me and my family watched this for the first time because we were on a trip. And I just think this movie is a major ripoff of Toy Story. The only difference is that Toy Story is what toys do when you're alone, and this movie is what pets do when you're alone. It's not a good idea. And if you need a better explanation, here it is. In this scenario, Max would be Woody, Duke would be Buzz, and their owner would be Andy. And if you think about the two movies, they're actually very similar. Because in the movie, when the owner came home with Duke and Max was jealous, this is actually the same thing that happened in Toy Story. Except in that movie, Woody was jealous when Andy got Buzz for his birthday, but it's basically the same thing. And honestly, I do think this is kind of an entertaining movie, but overall, I just think it's okay. Maybe this movie would have done a little bit better if Toy Story didn't exist, but it does. Because I have mixed feelings, this has to go to B.
I'm having a bad day.
So for once, we actually have a good Illumination movie. And even though it's not nearly as good as any of the Pixar movies, it's actually still pretty good. I honestly liked how much the Minions weren't in this movie. I mean, sure, they're funny, but now they're just used for money, and it's so annoying. And in the movie, when they break into Vector's house, you can see that he's playing a Wii. This man has good taste. And I honestly miss the days that Illumination movies were actually good. Because when a new one comes out, I just don't really feel like seeing it. And plus, the only good thing in Illumination's future is the upcoming Mario movie. But aside from that, the movie is pretty good, and so is the villain. So it is better than all the other Illumination movies, so it's gonna have to go to an S. Here we go. This movie is literally the definition of gold digging. What's the point of having famous people voice animals in a talent show? It's so stupid. And if the question of why was this movie even made is floating in your head right now, I'll tell you. Money. Aside from the creators being total gold diggers, I guess the plot was like 1% interesting in my head. Like if I could go back and watch any Illumination movie, I felt like it would not be this one. I just feel like all the characters besides that one gorilla's dad have absolutely no character arc whatsoever. Especially that dumb koala. And if you think he starts to change around the end of the movie, just wait till you watch the second one. He goes back to the same exact person he was before. And I think that's the main problem with this movie. So at the end, it probably has to go to C.
Because I'm happy. Clap along.
This movie is also pretty good. I just didn't really like how Gru became a spy, because that just ruined his whole entire character. I guess it was kind of cool how they wanted their main character to have a character arc, unlike other movies, but I just think they should have left Gru alone. Aside from Gru completely changing, this movie was actually pretty good. The only problem is, I think this is the movie when Minions started to become a cash grab. Because, oh my gosh, I cannot go a day on YouTube without seeing
Cute and silly Minion compilation.
And the villain is pretty good, it just does not compare to Vector. And when I was younger, this is the movie that I used to watch the most out of all the Illumination movies. But after rethinking it, it's probably not as good as the first one. Aside from all these flaws, I think this movie is still pretty good by itself, so it probably has to go at an A.
How bad can I be?
Okay, so now it's time to rank the Lorax. I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I used to love this movie. But it's honestly not as good as I thought it was. I just feel like it needs to focus more on like taking care of the environment, because that's the whole point of why this book was even made. And this theme is so far lost. In one of its ad campaigns, it was about cars. This movie, oh my gosh. The whole entire message that the Lorax is supposed to bring is completely gone. I don't understand why this movie was even made. And if I'm being honest, you should just read the book. I think that Illumination was trying to make people enjoy the movie rather than teaching people a lesson, which doesn't make that much sense. Because this movie was based off a movie that was based off a book that's supposed to be teaching you a lesson. So honestly, I don't really know what to think about this. But I do give it the point for nostalgia. So this movie's probably gonna have to go to B. This movie is questionable. I guess it was kind of interesting how we got to see how Gru met the Minions, but other than that, the movie was like okay. Again, I like the Minions, like the characters, but they're just used for money. And I don't think the whole storyline with like that one weird villain was like, it was kind of lame. And out of the whole entire Despicable Me series, Gru is my favorite character, so it sucks how we barely even get to see him. And the movie itself is just kind of bland and forgettable. I just don't really feel like rewatching it. But on the other hand, it is better than Sing. I just think the main problem is that the jokes are funny, but the storyline is just so boring. Like I already said, I think the only interesting part of the storyline is how you got to see how the minions met Gru and like their backstory and stuff. But other than that, the movie just kind of meh. So I'll probably have to put this at a C as well.
What are you hiding behind?
Wait, do I seriously have to rank this one? I cannot get over the fact that no character in the whole entire universe of Sing has any character arc. The thing that I hate most about this movie is that stupid wolf. She is so annoying. Every single time a word comes out of her mouth, it gets on my nerves. And aside from the characters being so freaking annoying, the storyline too is just so bland and boring. Oh yeah, and there's this one character named like Clay Calloway who I completely forgot about. He's stupid too. And it's not surprising that this movie didn't do good because most Illumination movies don't. And altogether, I don't find anything about this movie interesting. This is gonna have to go to an F. For this being Illumination's newest movie, I had very low expectations. But to my surprise, it was actually very entertaining. It's still not as good as the first Despicable Me movie in my opinion, but it's probably around the same rank as Despicable Me 2. I think that the jokes were funny and altogether it's just like a very good movie. I feel like the only thing that sets it back is that I think that the final fight was just kind of boring. I mean, I guess the villains were cool, but that's not why I like it. In my opinion, I think this is probably the funniest Illumination movie. I think my favorite part though is when Otto was on that tricycle and he was going like 1,000,000 miles per hour. I think this movie was very well thought out and altogether it's just very entertaining and funny. So I think that it deserves an A. This is the movie where Illumination just really wanted money. I feel like the theme of this movie did have a lot of potential, but I just don't really like the way Illumination did it. I think the villain of this movie does not compare to the other ones. Like, he had a good backstory, but overall it just wasn't really that interesting. And oh my gosh, the filler in this movie was so annoying! There was literally 4 main plots going on at the same exact time. Even though there were some entertaining parts, overall this movie was just kind of mid. And this movie didn't even really need to be made. I know that everybody's like, there's 3 movies in a trilogy, but they ended it on a wedding. I don't know, I just think the second one should have been the last. This movie alone has really ruined my perspective on the series. Because of these reasons, this movie has to go to C.
I could feel the sunshine.
Alright, so basically this movie's about, how did I already forget? I cannot tell you how forgettable this movie is. And I actually remember the first time I ever watched this movie, so I'm just gonna tell you a story. Alright, so back when I was in 4th grade, this movie had just come out. And I had no interest in seeing it at all. But then because my school was so freaking cheesy, they were all like, pay $20 to see the new Secret Life of Pets movie. We'll be holding the fun time in the gym at 3 p.m. on Friday with free popcorn. That wasn't actually free, they just scammed me. But then, you know, my stupid self asked my parents to pay me to go there, so I was just all like, I'm so excited. And then, you know, I got there, paid $5 for a bag of popcorn, which does not make sense. And then, you know, little me sat down by my one friend, and I was all like, oh man, this movie is so boring. Literally, the only thing I remember is that one stupid character with the other stupid character saved that one stupid character from like these Russians. I don't know if that actually happened in the movie or just little me was so confused. And before I knew it, the movie was over and I'd forgotten everything that just happened. And to this day, I've still not paid my parents back. For a $20 movie ticket and a $5 bag of popcorn, what was this? And for obvious reasons, this movie has to go at an F.
You're a mean one.
Alright, so I just watched this movie for the first time a couple days ago and I was pleasantly surprised. And in my opinion, I think it's probably the most underrated one. And in this movie, I don't really feel like there's any comic relief characters, which is a very good thing. Because in most Illumination movies, they do, and after a while, it just gets kind of annoying. And I do really like the comedy in this movie. It'd probably be the funniest if Rise of Gru did not exist. Aside from that, the plot was kind of boring in some parts, but overall, it's pretty good. And if it's around Christmas time and you want to watch an animated Christmas movie, just watch The Polar Express. I'm not trying to imply that this movie is bad, because it's not. I just think Polar Express is like 1,000,000 times better. And the one thing that just didn't really make sense about this movie is that he did all these bad things throughout the whole entire movie, and at the very end, they just forgive him. Okay then. Even though I did get kind of bored in some parts, it has to go at an A.
Let's go.
The fact that I have to rank this movie right now is depressing. Why on earth would Illumination try to make a live-action movie? I remember when I watched this movie for the very first time, because I was like 5 and I was like, I'm never gonna watch this again. From what I've seen on YouTube and people's reactions and just remembering little parts of the movie, I'm glad that I haven't watched this in a while. I get so bored even by watching one of those clips on YouTube. And that one part when that lady thought that it was like a stuffed animal or something, then he was all like, I think I closed it after like a minute or so because I just was so stupid. And if you could have seen my reaction when that stupid chick turned into a rabbit. What? This movie is so awful, it definitely deserves an F. The pain and suffering of making this video is finally over. This took countless hours of my time for a video that'll only get like 5 views. But anyways, here's the finished tier list. Alright, my final ranking is Despicable Me. Great movie, great villain, but does not compare to Pixar. Despicable Me 2. Great movie as well, but Minions are a cash grab. The Grinch. Pretty solid jokes, but some parts are boring. Minions: The Rise of Gru. Probably the most funny Illumination movie, but the final fight was stupid. The Lorax. Very nostalgic, but you should just read the book. Secret Life of Pets. If you like pet compilation videos, then you should just watch this. Despicable Me 3. Good premise, just too much filler. The Minions. Entertaining in some parts, but the rest was just kinda boring. Sing. No character arc whatsoever and just like a trash storyline. Secret Life of Pets 2. Very forgettable and stale. Sing 2. Basically the same exact thing as Sing 1, but just worse. Do you agree with my opinions? If you do, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Please like, this took so much longer than you could imagine.